Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. We'll get started in one moment. Okay, great. Yeah, so today's webinar, Unlocking New Talent, Elevate Your Workforce Through Canada's Economic Mobility Pathways Pilot, or EMPP. So just as we're waiting for a few others to join, I wanted to inform you that today's webinar will be recorded and it'll be made available for future viewing on our YouTube channel. So if you miss any part of today's session or want to revisit the content at any time, you can access it here on our channel, and we'll send out that link after the webinar. And throughout the session, we invite you to put any questions that you have in the YouTube chat, and we'll be collecting them to answer during our Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. Okay, let's get started. So my name is Veronica Wilson. I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer. I'm co-founder and legal director of TalentLift Canada. I specialize in labor mobility and leveraging economic immigration programs to support people living displaced or in refugee circumstances to use their skills to secure their futures through equitable access to job and skilled visa opportunities. And later in the webinar, we'll be hearing from Mustafa Albaker. He's a TalentLift candidate and has gone through this process, and he's now living and working in Canada. Today, we'll talk about this EMPP program, the new government pilot for employers, and how to leverage this unique program through TalentLift. And we'll hear from Mustafa, who will share his experience with the pilot, and then we'll end today's session with any questions that you may have. So talent is everywhere. At TalentLift, we aim to make this talent accessible to employers in Canada. So our organization is a nonprofit talent agency founded to support employers to source talent from within refugee and displaced populations to fill skill shortages. And this enables refugees, along with their families, to lift to their potential, secure their futures, and leave displacement behind. So we're an official trusted partner with the Government of Canada, and we work in partnership with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, or UNHCR, as well as nonprofits in refugee hosting countries. So it's a simple idea of including skilled refugees as part of the international labor pool, but for decades, this just wasn't possible. So it didn't matter how skilled you were or if you had a job offer in Canada. If you were living as a refugee, meaning you had fled your home because of conflict, war, or persecution, for example, and you had to leave your career behind, you couldn't use Canada's skilled immigration pathways because there are unintentional barriers that are built into the visa process, for example, like needing a valid passport. But this is thankfully now changed. So with the Economic Mobility Pathway Pilot, or EMPP, this pilot was started as a test to improve access by refugee applicants to Canada's skilled visa pathways as a complementary solution to the traditional humanitarian resettlement. And recently, this past summer, there's a new EMPP standalone pathway that was released. So the EMPP provides employers a unique opportunity to connect with and hire qualified applicants from refugee and displaced situations overseas. So it's essentially accessing a new pool of potential employees for the Canadian labor market. The Government of Canada collaborates with non-government organizations, communities, provinces and territories, and UNHCR worldwide. So a partner organization like TalentLift, we can help employers to find these candidates. We help through the immigration process, and we help support the newcomers to their communities and new workplaces. So why hire through the EMPP? So it's this international talent pool. So the idea is that it is accessing untapped talent that wasn't previously available before. And the candidates, there's no surprise that there's a need for more skilled workers in Canada. It's affecting many industries, and it's a significant challenge for businesses across the country. So there's not enough local talent, and now employers have access to candidates that are job ready. They have the language skills, experience, and education needed to fill these positions. So partner organizations like TalentLift, we connect employers in need with the candidates abroad, and employers are gaining creative, agile employees with remarkable perseverance and determination. And you have the opportunity to engage your team in impactful hiring solutions. So you're enriching community building within your organizations when candidates and their families relocate, and this inevitably leads to higher retention rates, and there's this loyalty and recognition of the transformative impact of extending a job offer to someone who's living displaced. Additionally, the EMPP, it helps candidates you want to hire in the following ways. It provides flexibility in identity and travel documentation requirements. So previously I mentioned candidates couldn't access the skilled immigration pathways for not having a valid passport. Now through the EMPP, there are alternative documents that are accepted in lieu of a valid passport, and candidates are issued travel documents from the Canadian visa offices abroad. It also provides flexibility in work experience requirements, and some of the fees for the programs are waived, like the application fee, biometric fee. There's access to the medical exams. Low interest loans are available to meet settlement needs and support travel costs, where with the other economic immigration applications, there is a need to have settlement funds. So now this can be met through low interest loans. And also there's an expedited permanent residence processing standard of 6 months. So the EMPP is a permanent resident visa application. So candidates do arrive as permanent residents, and that processing time of 6 months ensures that they can come swiftly to support the employers. So this slide just shows the evolution of this EMPP program, and it's just started as a small scale pilot with the Middle East and East Africa, just testing solutions. Then it expanded in 2021, and the government attempted to target 2,000 applicants. It was embedded within the policy, and the government reached out to trusted partners, and this is when TalentLift formed. And now the future direction, this new program, there is no cap. So within this, candidates with the job offer, there's no cap within the program. There are updates to the federal pathway, and this really has become a government priority. And there's a lot of momentum behind it. So to be eligible under the EMPP for candidates, they must be in refugee or displaced circumstances outside of Canada. They must meet the criteria of one of the EMPP programs. They must be admissible to Canada. So within the immigration process, there are medical, criminal, and security screening that's done. And they must intend to reside in a province or territory in Canada other than Quebec. So there are two options under the EMPP. So there's, and again, these are all permanent resident pathways. So there are two main options, which are named the regional EMPP and then the federal EMPP. So under the regional EMPP, you may be familiar with some of these programs. They are existing immigration programs, the provincial nominee programs, rural and northern immigration pilot, and the Atlantic immigration pilot. So there's just some changes within them that allows to level the playing field and create access for displaced workers. This federal EMPP pathway, this was just introduced this past summer, and there's two streams: candidates that have a job offer and those that do not have a job offer. So the job offer stream is what we're going to focus on mostly today in this webinar. It's the pathway that TalentLift uses the most, and it's a total game changer for employers and candidates. The no job offer stream, doesn't require a job, but there's stricter candidate eligibility requirements, stricter work experience, education, and language. So with the regional EMPP, under the provincial nominee programs, the different programs and accommodations through the EMPP vary by province or territory. The Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program has been a large partner of ours and involved in the EMPP, and also the Newfoundland and Labrador Provincial Nomination Program. So both of these programs, if the job offers are in a higher skilled position, there is no language testing requirement for their programs. So sometimes accessing a language exam, even if a candidate has the language skills, accessing the exam can be difficult for people in refugee circumstances. The testing centers may not be available. The test centers may require valid ID when that is not possible. So these two programs, we can overcome that language barrier. The second ones, the federal programs, the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot. These are the 11 communities that have been designated by the Canadian government as in need of additional workers, and they are as well as the Atlantic Immigration Pilot, the Atlantic provinces. So some accommodations here where typically the program requires 1 year of work experience in the last 3 years, but under the EMPP accommodations that the work experience recency requirement has been waived, with the understanding that candidates may not be able to work within their field when they're living displaced in host countries where they don't have access to the legal right to work. So it accepts older work experience and recognition of that. Also, the requirement to have your education credentials assessment that is now waived. With those ECAs, you need to have original transcripts from your university, and in places of conflict that may not be possible. So that has been waived, and copies of documents are required instead. And also settlement funds, as mentioned earlier, can be provided through the use of low interest loans. The Canadian government has partnered with an organization called Windmill Microlending. So we support candidates with applications through those. For these regional EMPP programs, they are two steps. So the first step is either applying to the province or territory, or the rural and northern community, or the Atlantic province, and to get a nomination certificate or a community recommendation. And then with that, the second application to the federal government to apply for permanent residence. The typical processing time is over a year, but this has been expedited to 6-month processing time, and fees have been waived as well, and access to EMP services upon arrival, which I'll get into in a minute. And just a reminder that if you do have any questions throughout the webinar, please do enter them in the chat function on YouTube, and we'll be collecting them to answer later. Okay, so the federal EMPP pathway, Stream A job offer. Okay, so this is a really exciting new program. It really is a breakthrough, very innovative. So it's a one-step permanent resident application with a processing time of 6 months. So where the others previously, there's a first stage, this is all start to finish within 6 months. And job offers can be under any position. So Canada uses the National Occupation Classification, or NOC codes, and there are in different tier categories 0 to 5. So job offers under this pathway can be within any of those tiers. The program does not require a labor market impact assessment. That's a separate application to Service Canada, which I'll discuss in a moment as well. And there are criteria for applicants. They have to meet work experience and education requirements, and there's a language exam involved to meet a minimum language score, and that's based on the occupation classification level. And similar with the regional EMPP, work experience can be obtained anytime in the past, and these education assessments are not required. So where the way employers fit in, so employer eligibility, all that is required is essentially a job offer. So offering a full-time job offer, so not seasonal, not in the summer or the winter, for example. The definition of full-time is over 30 hours a week. It can be for any occupation, as I mentioned, outside of Quebec, and must be for at least 1 year after arrival. Employers must be compliant with the federal, provincial, territorial employment laws. They complete a job offer form, and no other documents are required upfront from employers. So for the candidate eligibility, candidate criteria, as mentioned, there are refugee, displaced circumstances, there's minimum language requirements, and work experience and education requirements. And where the EMPP, like the purpose of the EMPP, is providing these administrative or financial flexibilities to overcome displacement-related barriers. So using an expired passport or other ID, as I mentioned, instead of a valid passport, or sometimes work experience, proof of work experience is difficult to obtain when you have fled a country and cannot access your previous employment. So there are ways of accommodating these situations, and our legal team has expertise in supporting candidates who may not be able to get the documents, and provide letters of explanations and alternative documents, sometimes affidavits, in lieu of these documents to meet the requirement. So the most common way employers in Canada bring international workers to fill labor shortages in Canada is through work permits. These work permits are supported by a positive labor market impact assessment, or LMIA for short. So this LMIA application, it's temporary residence, and it's 2 steps. So once the employer obtains this LMIA, they then submit a work permit application online. That would be processed as well. So I thought it would be helpful to compare the federal EMPP job offer stream with the LMIA to show you how the federal EMPP could be a better option for these reasons. So first of all, with the position, so the job offers can be in any NOC category, any skill level. The LMIA is similar, but the positions are divided between low wage and high wage, and the LMIA has the requirement that the employer is unable to find a candidate locally, and there is a need for the international worker. And it is similar with the EMPP as well, but there is no requirement to demonstrate that. So where advertising the position is a key piece of the LMIA application, to attempt to demonstrate attempts to recruit locally, there is no advertising requirement for employers within the EMPP. The other is the wage. So for the federal EMPP, there's there's no set wage that an employer needs to pay. However, they do require it to be a fair wage and meet minimum wage. And they made this decision to not include this as a way to expand the number of job opportunities that could be available to EMPP candidates. And also with candidates arriving as permanent residents, they do have some flexibility within that as well. So in terms of employer documents, as I mentioned earlier, with the LMIA, or sorry, with the EMPP, there's just the job offer form. There's a questionnaire that our team provides and completes the form on your behalf, and then a job offer letter. But with the LMIA, for those of you that are familiar, there's CRA documents that have to be provided. There's a recent T4 summary, tax returns, business registration, licenses, attestation from lawyers. So it can be a bit burdensome with the documents required, where with the EMPP, there's more flexibility there. With the status upon arrival, so the EMPP is permanent residents, where LMIA candidates arrive temporary, and will have a pathway to permanent residence later. Several times, it's about a year or so after arrival. There's flexibility after arrival with the EMPP. So with the candidate being a permanent resident, they can, if an employer wants them to change to a new position, or they're being promoted to a new role, they can do so, where with the LMIA, there are limits to what you can change without having to apply and pay for a new LMIA application. So that's some great flexibility there. In terms of timeline, I do believe that they are similar, or the EMPP can even be faster, because it is the one-step process, where LMIA is 2 steps. And with the LMIA, the work permit piece is variable depending on where the candidate is located. The different visa offices have different timelines, and that could take longer, where the EMPP, they have the standard processing time of 6 months. Okay, so now I'll just switch over to share some information about TalentLift as an organization, and how you can use us to support this unique pilot. So TalentLift, we're a full-service talent agency for Canadian employers. Our process starts with employers providing us with a job description for open roles. We have this 3-step approach. So we identify candidates overseas, support them and the employers throughout the interview, hiring, immigration, and settlement process. So we provide talent search, visas, relocation, and settlement. And I'll just go through each briefly. So how do we find our candidates? So we find candidates through our talent platform. So there's 2 ways. The first one is through our talent platform, where candidates have registered, and we have currently over 13,000 candidates living in 144 different countries. So this map here shows the locations, and the ones that have the larger circles excuse me, are ones where we have source partners. So we also work with partners within areas that are hosting refugees. They have their own pools of candidates that we work with to find matches for the job descriptions that we receive. So once we identify the candidates, we create a short list to send to employers of ones that have the right skills and potential. Employer reviews the CVs just as they would for any other potential candidates for the role. They decide who they want to interview. We facilitate that interview process. We help candidates prepare for interviews. And if they meet someone they want to hire, they offer a job, and that's when the next stage of the visa process begins. So our recruitment team, some of whom will be joining at the end of the presentation to assist with any questions, but we really are dedicated to finding the perfect candidate for the job listing. There's no shortage of talent. So recruited with TalentLift, 97% of candidates have remained within the company long term. It's about meaningful referrals and a way for our candidates to express gratitude. So these are some of the source partners that we do work with for finding talent as well. So within our talent platform, this is just the top 10 occupations, kind of showing the representation of the main candidates within the platform. So you can see there's a variety, but most represented are there's educators, nurses, healthcare professionals, there's IT, computer, software developers, there's accountants, auditors, admin, cooking, baking, other specialized occupations. There's engineers, skilled trades as well. So once the job offer has been extended, it goes to our visa team, and everything is done in-house. So we try to make the process as seamless as possible for employers. We are a registered civil society organization with the Law Society of Ontario, and we provide the services on behalf of employers and the candidates they hire, as well as accompanying family members through the EMPP program. And sometimes international recruitment can seem daunting and has been avoided for that reason. But we simplify and streamline the process. We submit everything on your behalf and try to make it as smooth as possible. And finally, the relocation and settlement planning piece. So we are the project managers of this process, and we put candidates and their families in touch with existing resources and services already in place within the community. So we do regular check-ins with candidates and the employers after arrival. So at the visa submission stage, this is when our settlement planning begins, and we have a call with the candidates. We go through a budget and we refer them to the Windmill microlending loan service. Once the visa has been approved, we have another call with employers and provide an arrival summary. And we do ask that our employers be responsible for airport pickup, and which we do think is the best part of the process, like welcoming the candidate and their family at the airport, as well as providing temporary accommodation for a week or two while they settle and can find accommodation on their own and with our support. This slide just shows some of our trusted partners and employers that we have been working with. We work with employers all across Canada in all different sectors. Okay, so some of our success stories of candidates who have gone through the process. The first picture here is of Mohammed. He was the first EMPP candidate to come back in 2018 and or 2019, pardon me, and I had the privilege of supporting his application as his representative. So he's a senior full stack developer at a tech firm in Waterloo, and he was living in Lebanon as a refugee from Syria and working as a software developer. So he recently became a Canadian citizen. So this shows a photo from his virtual ceremony. Next to him is Dilruba. She is working as a personal support worker. She was in nursing school in Afghanistan when she had to flee with her family to India, and she was unable to continue her education there. So TalentLift supported her with a job offer at a long-term care home, and where she's working now. And she's working towards her nursing degree and license so that she can work as a nurse with her employer. And next we have Josh and Amy. They're originally from Cuba, and they were living as asylum seekers in Trinidad and Tobago. Josh is a web designer and developer, and Amy has a background in finance. They're working in New Brunswick at a product development company. And this photo is Josh's daughter. They met at the airport, and this was the first time he had seen her in 5 years. So it was a beautiful reunion, and some of the impactful things that can happen when you support a candidate with a job offer through this program. And the last but not least is our guest speaker today. So here's Mustafa. He's pictured with his wife and his son holding his Canadian visa. So I'm going to now welcome him to our call. So Mustafa, if you'd like to join us. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining.
It's my pleasure to be here with you.
So Mustafa is a healthcare professional. He's joining us from St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. He's at work right now, so thank you again for taking the time to speak with us. He arrived in April, originally from Iraq, where he was working as a nurse. And then he was living displaced in Turkey. So our team supported him with a job offer with an employer named Chancellor Park, which is a long-term care home. But I'll let him share the rest of his story. So Mustafa, why don't you tell us about how you first met your employer and what that process was like?
Yeah, I learned about my employer from the TalentLift team. I got call from Dana. We talked about job opportunity, and next step I got call from the Mrs. Alison. She is the human resource manager. I do the interview with her. She do with me job interview, and we talk about my education and my experience in work in my country.
What was your work experience in
Okay,
education?
I am graduated from as a technical nurse. I have nursing diploma. I have over 10 years of experience. Works in hospitals as a nurse. I worked before in emergency room, and I worked in pediatric ward, burn unit.
And then how did you feel when you learned that you got the job, when Allison told you that they were gonna hire you and support your application?
Wow, almost crying, because it's you have dream and it's become true. This is big for me. As you know, but no one knows, my life in Turkey, it's very difficult. Everyone asks me. I said I waste 8 years of my life and my family lives in Turkey, because it's a difficult life. We can't work legal. That's why I can't do what I know to do. This is my real job as a nurse. I worked many things in Turkey as a baker, in market, in plastic factory. It's very difficult life. Trust me. I hope no one through what I am through it. But the good thing, I am here now and with you, and I am happy. I am very happy.
So how are things going in Canada? How's your job? How's your family?
Wow, I am good in my job. My job, it's my passion. It's real job for me. But this is beginning. Okay, I need to get my nursing lesson. But first, I need to support my wife, because she's supporting me in Turkey with hard life. I want to support her to get her dream job. She want to apply for police women, and after that, I can start with my career. And I have good neighbors. They helped me so much. That's why I like Canada. I like here uh, because here is the people is friendly. They
And when
kind.
and when you do get your nursing license, do you intend to continue working at Chancellor Park?
Of course, because let me tell you something. I want to say thank you for Alison because she's helped me a lot. When I came here, I don't know anyone. She's helped me so much. Thanks to her. And thanks to Chancellor Park because they supported me and they still supporting. That's why I comment to still with them until the end, until I am retired. They told me enough, you can go to home.
And
And
how's your
sorry for
no, no.
interrupt, but I want to say about my son.
Yes.
You know, my son, his name is Wissam. When we came here, he told me, Father, now my name is Max. Okay. I call him Max, and all the school I get the report from the school. They told me Max, he's good. Max is like this. He have many friends. It's changed. Before that, he's alone. When we lived in Turkey, he's in home all the time. He refused to go to school. But now, first time, I don't need to push him to go to school. He is happy all the time. My apartment, the running door, they not stop running all the time. They ask for Max. Max, where is Max? He have many friends. He's the happiest one in my family.
That's so wonderful to hear. I love that. Um, okay, so yeah, thank you for sharing all of this and sharing your experience and where you started and what you had to go through to get to Canada. So this webinar is for employers who are thinking about hiring with TalentLift. So is there anything that you'd want to say to them who are thinking about hiring either through TalentLift or one of our partners or just anyone that might be living in refugee circumstances?
Yeah, of course. I want to say we are, as I am refugee before, as we are hard worker and faster learns. Maybe for employers, I am just another employee. But for me, this is my life. This is the new life. As I said for my friends, every day I push myself to improve myself in work because I feel this is my country now. This is my life. We excited to rebuild a new life here. Okay, I hope everyone know that. I talk from my heart, but sorry for my English not help me. If I am talking in Arabic, I am be like perfect. No one can stop me.
Oh, your English is perfect. We can all understand you. And that's something that I've noticed has improved so much as well from the first time that we met you to now. Your English is just continues to improve. That you're such a fast learner. I cannot do
And
that in Arabic.
sorry. Before I forget, I want to say thank you. I'm thankful to TalentLift, all the team. I don't want to forget any names, but they support me and they still until now they help me. If I need anything, I call the team in TalentLift. They answer me. They help me so much, and I want to thank you. You are the best. You are started with me when the first time until I arrived here. I don't forget you stood in phone with me when I started my journey from Turkey until I arrived here to Newfoundland. Thank you so much for you.
This is our pleasure to support you. And it's all you. You're the one that got the job offer. You have the skills, and we're just happy to be able to connect you to the employer that not only needed your skills but can support this opportunity. It's more than just hiring an employee. It's like you said, starting a new life. So, okay, I forgot to mention at the beginning that if anybody does have questions for Mustafa, please do ask them in the chat now. We'll just see if anyone would like to ask him anything. What about, I can just ask a question to get things started, but please do put anything in the chat. What about your family back home? What do they think about your job opportunity and your life in Canada?
Yeah, my mom. I call my mom every day when I finish my work. I get home.
Such a good
Uh,
son.
we have we have different time. That's why I need to wait until 3 morning to call her because it's day for them. She's very happy because she's saw what I am through. I through it in when I live in Turkey. How I have many difficulties. She's very happy. My brother and my sister they are very happy to me.
Okay, so I don't see any questions. So I guess we will let you go and start your shift. Thank you again for joining us. It's really, really wonderful to hear from you, and I know we'll talk again very soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
take
you.
care.
See you.
Okay, bye. Okay, great. So we have about 15 minutes left, and so we can start with answering some questions that may have come in. So let's take a look at that. Okay, and Tiago Ferreira, if you want to join the call as well, he's my colleague that's on the recruitment team, and so I assist with the visa. My team assists with the visa applications, and Tiago and his team support employers through the recruitment process. Okay, so let's just take a look here. How long does it take after getting the job offer is one of the questions that we have. So Tiago, maybe do you want to, let's talk about timeline. So maybe we can start with you explaining how long it takes from when an employer might provide us with the job description. And then the next piece about after getting the job offer, I can speak to.
All right. Thank you, Veronica. Thanks for everyone who joined us today. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the recruitment steps that we go through. The timelines really depend on the type of position that we're talking about, the type of employer that we're working with. We don't exactly have set timelines, but on average, I can give you an example of a relatively typical timeline in which the employer would come with us with a new position to add to our database, and it would take us approximately a few days to get that position up and running, and liaising with the employer and ironing out the details of that position. Once it's all ready, we put that up in our database and we start up our talent search. During our talent search, we work with local partners, as Veronica mentioned, in many different locations, such as the Middle East, Latin America, and Africa. And we perform this talent search by searching through profiles in our data, through existing profiles in our database of candidates, but also we make use of other databases that our partners use locally to find a internal shortlist of candidates. This process might take a few days up to a few weeks, depending on how hard or how specific the requirements are to this position. And then we move on to the next stage of the recruitment process, which is we meet the candidates to iron out the details of their CVs and qualifications. We go through a process of CV development where we work directly with candidates to bring their CVs up to standards for the Canadian marketplace, and to just have a uniform and very presentable CV that helps employers triage through the candidates' qualifications and choose the most appropriate candidates for those positions. Once we work on the candidate's CV, we then move on to eligibility checks, where we compare this candidate's qualifications and refugee circumstances with the employer requirements, and as well as the Canadian the requirements of the Canadian immigration path to be used for that position. Once we clear the eligibility checks for these candidates, we move on to the shortlist, and we deliver the shortlist to the employers, with the final few selected candidates per position. And at that point, it is up to the employer to select the candidates they would like to interview. We then set up a practice interview with those candidates so that they can be familiar with interview practices in Canada. And then we place those candidates in front of the employer for a job interview. And the employer might take a few days to get back to us after this interview with the result and with a job offer for the selected candidates. On average, on a typical, very standard application, I would say that we take on average about a few days to work on the candidate's CV, then another few days, maybe 1 to 2 weeks, to set up the right timing for the interviews, depending on this could vary a little bit depending on the technical level of the interviews. And then once we do the interviews, then it's really up to the employers. Some employers will get back to us almost immediately with a result for the interview and letting us know, extending the job offer to one of our candidates. Some employers sometimes take a little longer, and they might have to discuss the results of the interview with management, with HR, and with other stakeholders. So sometimes they will take up to 2 or 3 weeks to get back to us. But on average, I would say the typical process before a job offer would be somewhere between 1 and 2 months from the time that we receive the very first job description to the time that a candidate might receive a job offer.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that detail. It's so valuable to add that as well. So once it comes to the visa team, it takes about a couple of weeks or so to prepare all the documents and information from the candidates. If there's a language test involved, depending on the candidate's level, they may take the test right away or have additional time to study. And then, as mentioned, the visa process should be within 6 months. We've definitely had it faster. And then sometimes there are exit procedures that need to be followed after a visa takes place or a visa is approved. And that can depend on where the candidate is residing. But we still like to stick within that 6-month timeline because we have seen the processing faster. So once a candidate's visa is approved, we do support the flight booking as well, and that's at no cost to employers. We work with a wonderful partner that's called Miles for Migrants, and they book flights using donated air miles or donated points. And if for some circumstance that is not available and maybe there are complexities, then we partner with the International Office of Migration, IOM, and they would support exit procedures and flight bookings. And there is a cost to that, but it's through a travel loan between the candidate and the Canadian government. So just check if there's any more. I do see a lot of the questions that are coming into our chat are from, it seems that they are candidates. So we did have a webinar actually just yesterday that was specifically for candidates about how to get started and the job opportunities, and that will be posted on our YouTube channel. So we do ask that you review that webinar, and a lot of these questions that are coming in are definitely answered there. Okay, so just for see, so some of the other like common questions that we do get are Oh, here's one that came in. So what are the employer requirements? I'm a small business. Can I still participate? So yes, the employer requirements where with other economic immigration pathways, there may be limitations and stricter requirements such as revenue and size or number of years in operation or how many Canadians or permanent residents are working at a certain location. But with this EMPP program, they really have expanded the criteria to allow for more employers to take advantage of this new hiring initiative. So small businesses can still participate for sure. Let's see, another common question. How many applicants have gone through the program? So as mentioned, this federal EMPP program has just opened this past summer. So arrivals, we have 33 principal applicants, and including their family members would be 101. And in the pipeline now that have job offers going through the recruitment process, including family members, there's 273. So a lot of the candidates with employers, they're repeat hires. So that's candidate or employers have hired multiple with us or have hired one person and really happy with the outcome and have hired again. So Tiago, perhaps you could answer what an employer should do to get started. Maybe like how to get started with our team. And we can maybe wrap up with that.
The best way for employers to get started is by going to our website and filling out the contact form that we have there. That will generate an automated message to one of us, and we'll get in touch with you as soon as possible to schedule a call. In this call, you will be joined by someone from our recruitment team, and we'll take the time to hear your requirements in terms of your hiring needs, the positions that you have available, and we'll explain to you what are the possible immigration paths to be used for those positions. And we'll give you a clear timeline of the expectations, the type of candidates that we have in that field, in that position. And you'll be able to ask any questions that you may still have about the process and the next steps. So if you're interested at all in knowing more, please just go to our website and fill out the contact form, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Great. Thank you so much. Yes, and on our website as well, we do have a candidate frequently asked questions section where candidates can review. So again, our process with TalentLift, we are entirely employer-led. So we review job descriptions and search for candidates that meet the criteria. So candidates that may not have heard from us, it would be that they haven't been matched with one of our job opportunities, and we're posting new job opportunities quite often within our database as we grow our pool of employers. We also do encourage candidates to do self-recruitment, like if they or perhaps Tago, do you want to mention that we also accept employers that have already found a candidate and want assistance because they're in refugee circumstances, and for candidates that are looking for employment on their own, how we can support them.
Sure, yes. For candidates looking for employment on their own, after creating your profile in our database, you can go into your profile and download a letter of support from our database that will aid you in contacting Canadian employers and explaining your refugee circumstances, and letting them know that there is an organization in Canada that can help you with your relocation and immigration process. For employers, we have something called We have something called independent recruitment, where if you know of someone who you would like to hire from abroad, you have already been in touch with them. A lot of employers in Canada that choose this type of recruitment, sometimes they're trying to hire relatives and people that they have already know from their countries of origin, and we're able to support that as well by providing a support letter. And the best way to reach us would also be by going to our website and filling out the contact form, explaining the situation about it, the independent recruitment that you would like to perform. And then we will get back to you as soon as possible with someone from our recruitment team to understand a little bit more about our hiring needs, explain the next steps regarding recruitment and relocation for this candidate, and we'll be able to support them like any other candidate that comes through TalentLift as a known independent recruitment.
Great. Thank you so much, Thiago. So this concludes our webinar. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We hope that this webinar for employers on how to use the EMPP has shed some light on the immense talent and potential within refugee and displaced communities. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Our team will guide you through the process. Also, thank you to Thiago for joining, assisting with these questions, to Eileen and our communications team, and Rui for the tech support and making this all possible. So thank you again, and we look forward to working with you in the future.